the actions go on of their own accord. The self is actionless. This is a quote by Ramana Maharshi. And if we observe and investigate, if we watch, if we are attentive to the movement of life, to the activity of life functioning through our own organism, and if we look deeply, we can see, we can discern that actions all arise spontaneously. For example, if you sit quietly for a moment, if we sit, I invite you, let's sit quietly. The heart is still beating, it's going on spontaneously. You can feel the blood potentially coursing through the veins. The speech has happened. There was a moment of quietness, and then the speech happened. If you watch the mind, just to observe its functioning, just to understand its mechanism, you'll see that the mind goes on producing thoughts. And if we observe our mind, if we observe the mind, we can see that the mind produces thoughts and is influenced by the environment. It's influenced by its conditioning. It's influenced by our biochemical state, in any moment, which is always fluctuating, depending on if we've had a good meal. And was it a balanced meal? Did we have a big meal, but we ate too much? It was a fatty meal. The mind will slow down, will be less clear in our thinking, you see. So we can see that the organism and its functioning, the actions that arise out in the organism are the result of a vast array of interacting and interconnected and interdependent factors. And then I invite you to also see, and I assert or suggest, I'm asserting that we can also see that the thoughts are coming and going, the actions are happening, but that the witnessing awareness remains unchanged. The thought comes, thought arises, whatever it is, it maintains its cadence for a little while. The topic is extended, the thought leads to a related thought, and then maybe the thought subsides and there's a period of quiet, or some other topic comes in because we see something or we hear something, or just the mind introduces another topic. If you watch and observe all that happen, you'll see that at the beginning of that thought, the witnessing awareness is present. During the thought, the witnessing awareness is present. And when the thought subsides, the witnessing awareness is present. It's the same if you get up and you go about your day. Let's say you go to the shops, you go to the shopping center. The presence awareness that you are is there, and the body mind is what is an object that's registered in that presence. That awareness is functioning through the senses of that body mind. But while you're in the shop, it's the same presence awareness is registering everything that happens. When you get back from the shop, you put the shopping away. If you care to look and see deeply and feel deeply, and intuitively apprehend the nature of the awareness presence that you are, fundamentally are, you'll see that it remained unchanged. Even if some great emotional upheaval were to happen, which happens to most of us, more or less, occasionally, at least on the odd occasion for most people, before that emotional upheaval happens, there is awareness. That awareness has to be there in order for there to be awareness of the emotion, even if it's something that's seemingly all-consuming. That's a happening that's happening in awareness, and when it subsides, which it will. When it subsides, the same awareness presence is there. So I invite you to consider that you are that awareness presence, which is prior to any event that happens. And you permeate, you're the field in which the events happen. You pervade the event. The event is happening within you and actually is a vibration of the energy of awareness. It sounds fantastical. The universe is a vibration of that which you are. It's a modification of awareness. And in the same way that if I were to take paper and out of the paper using, the origami technique, I fashion a swan. The paper is now it's taking the form of a swan. It appears to be a swan, but in reality, in essence, it's paper. No matter how many different shapes and different types of objects and animals and characters and buildings and whatnot that I were to make with paper using origami, the paper would remain paper. There would be the appearance of the paper is appearing in the form of a swan or a tiger or a man or a mountain or a house. However, it's still always paper. And now you see, realizing our true nature is like this. Consciousness is appearing in the form of this body mind. So recognizing that the essence of that consciousness is universal awareness is adding a dimension of appreciation to the situation. In the same way that if we were convinced, let's say, if we built a paper tiger, a life-size paper tiger, and we put it in the house, someone said, "Oh, it's a tiger." And then we point out, "Oh, actually, look, it's made of paper." There's still a beautiful paper tiger to appreciate. Now, it's just that now we understand that the essence is consciousness, or paper. The tiger is made out of paper. See, so what we are in essence is consciousness, which vibrates or spontaneously expresses itself as the universe. The power of consciousness that expresses itself as the universe is non-local. It's fully present everywhere. It doesn't have a specific locus. Even though it appears to, in the Leela, it appears that this body has these powers and this capacity, and another body has a different kind of capacity and ability. But still, it's all non-locally originated. And the body minds are always, they always have been, they are now, and always will be expressions of one universal consciousness. So it's an understanding, you see, and hearing these words now, and the words of other teachers who share this same wisdom, that you are not the source of your thoughts, and you're not the source of your actions. You see, what we're saying when we say that is that let's say, for example, the paper tiger isn't the source of its own being. Why? Because the paper, do you see what I mean? The paper is the source and substance, the substratum of the tiger. Do you see? So the power's not in the tiger. The tiger's an appearance of something else. And that is, I mean, that's the fundamental insight. And remembering this is sadhana, and remembering this, remembering that what we are is universal consciousness, and that all action, that the power of consciousness is universal, and that everything that happens, its origin is non-local. Everything's a spontaneous happening. This understanding may lead to increased peace, and by grace it may lead to a profound awe and wonderment, and the recognition of our fundamental nature, the fundamental nature of consciousness. And by the same token, this understanding that we are not the source of our thoughts, we're not the author of our actions. They're happening, and that the happening, let's say, of this speech right now is universal. It's the totality. It's the universe speaking through this form. It's speaking as this form. This is the functioning of the universe. So this understanding, we extend that to the events in our life, which leads to more gratitude, and it leads to more latitude, giving people more breathing room, and giving ourselves, naturally, it just happens as a result of this understanding, we give ourselves more breathing room. If we make some error, we can accept that and see what will happen differently next time. And part of this, the fact that we're understanding that everything, the fact that we see, we understand everything happens spontaneously, it includes us making an effort to do better, or making an effort to improve, or working towards some goal. All of that arises in life. I'm not suggesting that with this understanding, things will happen differently. You see, previously, and for the most part, most people set goals and put in an effort. That all happens, I'm saying that all happens spontaneously, and is likely to continue to happen. And it's this understanding and extending this understanding to others when someone cuts you off in traffic, or rips you off in some way, or they slight you, whatever it is, the little insults and the not so little insults that happen in life, the things that go wrong in relationships, where we're afforded a situation in which our understanding makes the room for a different kind of attitude towards the other. And what is that attitude? It's acceptance, compassion, empathy, knowing that the other is not the source of their own being, but they are being lived when another behaves in a way that is not ideal according to our framework, and probably the general framework of human beings that we would accept. When someone behaves in a way that's not ideal, there can be a natural compassion and empathy, giving them space to be what life is, granting them, flowing through them as. It's not unlike if we're in a play and someone in the play has to deliver an insult, or they have to do something that's seemingly terrible. Then we know they're acting according to the script, except that the script is their biochemical makeup in that moment, and the totality of the flow of circumstances, and their genes and their conditioning and their frame of mind, all of those vast array of factors that come together in that moment to produce whatever it is that gets produced in the other. You see? So that's where this understanding that there is no separate doer anywhere in the cosmos, you see, it brings about a deep peace, even when it's understood at the intellectual level. Even the intellectual understanding brings about quite a deep peace. and more it expands, or it may, it tends to expand, or it can tend to expand, because we don't know what will happen as a result of this understanding. But it's not uncommon that it increases a feeling of gratitude and a feeling of everything being sacred, a recognition of the sacredness of everything. Because the realization that the sages speak about of the oneness of being is always, I think, there's universal agreement. It's always a revelation of the oneness of consciousness, and that the entire universe is an expression of that consciousness. It's an appearance of consciousness, which is an expression of consciousness. It's ultimately a modification of consciousness, because all there is consciousness. What else could there be that's appearing as me and you and the computer, ChatGTP, the war in Iran, and the beautiful park outside, and our lovely pet cats, and yoga itself, the body of knowledge that is yoga. You see, the stars, the planets, the UAPs, hello in 2026. Here we are. It's all the divine. You see, so I'm inviting you into this shortcut to wonderment. And what is that shortcut? This shortcut to wonderment is to understand that we are all like puppets being operated by the non-local, all-pervading consciousness, which is not an object. And that non-objective, infinite, no thingness, which is the fullness of the plenum, is also full of divine potential, of infinite creative potential, and is expressing itself as this totality of this universe. And that even the ego and the sense of me, which is required for the organism to function, is an expression of this non-objective, non-local, infinite, all-pervading power, consciousness, or God, the Tao, the mother, the self, pure awareness, the nameless, the formless. So the essential point is this understanding that I am not the doer. There is no thinker. There is no separate doer. Actions happen. And that this insight is global. It applies to everyone and everything conceivable, everything. Everything is just happening. This understanding is a doorway, if you will, to inner peace. You see, because in a sense then, if you have this understanding and it's deepening in you and it's ripening in you, and it ripens, and a stressful thought happens, a stressful state of mind happens. Look, behold life life in this weird, contorted, difficult, painful, uncomfortable state is being birthed in this moment and expressing itself. See, it becomes then the kiss of God, even the most difficult moment. When someone does upset us and we react reactively, a happening. It happened. It's a happening. It's the same situation. It's the source of the activity is non-local power, all-pervading power. The source of the reaction and the reaction to their reaction to us and our reaction to them, and the argument itself is like the birds in the park squawking at each other. It's natural. It's just part of the yin and the yang, the warp and the woof, part of the play. It's happening in the Leela, and we can understand, because the understanding can arise, you see. The understanding can arise, this is a happening. There's no doer. The event of someone being rude, my friend was rude to me, or the guy in the store was rude to me, and the mind reacted like this, and the body went along with it and flipped him off, or whatever it is, you see, which is very different. You see, the value in this is that it's very different than if that happens, someone flips you off and you flip them off back and you both argue and then you regret it because you think, I should have done better, because the understanding is not there, you see. The belief in doership is there. That's his fault, and then I reacted, it's my fault. And then the problematic nature of such a situation is simply extended in duration. It echoes on for longer, you see. And also, if we see that person again, and the understanding is deep, and the understanding arises, it's a fresh moment. You know, there might be some level of, we're a bit cautious with that character, but we meet them with compassion and much more openness. It was famous, Nisargadatta Maharaj would throw people out of his satsang for asking stupid questions. Get out! And they'd come back the next day and he'd say, hello, welcome to satsang. You know, you're not who you take yourself to be. Because the understanding is, when we see, you see, when we see that everything is a spontaneous arising, then the understanding is that each event happens, followed by another event, followed by another event, all arising out of a non-local power, all-pervading power. You see, so there is more openness. more openness to what might arise in us. There's more openness to the potentiality of the moment, in every moment. And when this understanding really deepens and the sense of me falls away and the revelation of what is happens, when the revelation of that fundamental ground of being happens, we come to see, it's the birth of love. It's the birth of divine love. The heart of reality is divine love. When the understanding deepens and flowers, it is revealed that love is the power. Love pervades everything. Love sustains everything. So watch your mind. Watch your living, your activity. Watch the activity that happens. And contemplate in your meditation. Take a phrase such as "all there is consciousness," or "there is no independent entity anywhere in the universe." You could take that phrase and sit with that. Meditate on that phrase. Ponder that phrase. Chew on it, and then just drop it and sit. And the understanding will arise more and more in you, and cut off the involvement with the idea that I'm the doer. With in the presence of the seeing that everything happens spontaneously, the involvement of the me as the doer gets cut off. Okay. Namah Shivaya.